Thank you for joining this broadcast of the Dubb Action Online Summit. Today I am with Lin, and we are going to get into this topic that is so important for sales. Lin, if you could just start with a short bio and let's get into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So glad to be with you, Reuben. Thanks so much. And my name's Lin Schussler-Williams, and I have a background as a sales coach and a speaker and a personal development author. And I am just passionate about this idea of follow-up. You know, we've heard that old saying, the fortune's in the follow-up, and there's so much that comes before you get to the fortune in the follow-up. So that's what we were talking about today, and I'm so excited to be here. And so, Reuben, if it's okay with you, I'll just keep going and get started. And so I'm really just, when we hear that saying, the fortune's in the follow-up, I think a lot of people think, oh, great, if I just follow up, I'll, make $1 million or whatever. But there's so many steps, right, before we get to the fortune. And follow-up happens at every layer of our sales funnel. So, no matter how you work your business, whether it's digital marketing or whether it's an organic sales funnel, you still got to see the people and tell the story. You got to make the connections. You got to prospect and outreach and all of those sorts of things. And so when we do those things, it's important for us to follow up, right? Often, all the marketing people tell us, it used to be 7 touches before we got an action from somebody. In today's world, I think it might be a bigger number than that. But we just absolutely know that we're going to have to follow up. We're going to have to continue to touch them, continue to reach out. And we want to do it with our authentic voice. Reuben, it's why I love Dubb so much. I'm just passionate about it as a platform and as a way for us to do that better. And so then we've gotten somebody in our funnel at the top of that funnel, however you do that, whether it's social media or networking or speaking or any number of things that could be at the top of your funnel. And then they're in your funnel. What do you do with them then? So maybe you're a coach and you do complimentary discovery sessions, or maybe you're a consultant, right? And so you got to follow up, you got to touch them, you got to be with them. So it happens at every stage of your sales funnel, this follow up and this ability to just really reach out authentically and consistently, right? That's the other thing about follow up. We got to be consistent about it. It's not a one-time thing. It's a all the time thing.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say that they don't really like sales and they don't really like follow up. And I ask myself, is that a healthy and normal thing for someone in sales to feel? Or is it one of those things where that's normal? Everyone feels that way. What we enjoy is onboarding and closing and selling and building long-lasting relationships. What's your take on that?
Well, so people think they don't like selling because they don't like cold calling. And people think they don't like selling because they don't want to be, the old stereotypical used car salesman, right? They don't want to come across as pushy. They don't want to do the things that are no fun to do. And that's the other reason I love Dubb so much, is because you don't have to come across that way. You can come across as your authentic, heartfelt self, and people can see who you are on video, and they can hear your inflection, and they can. So, if you don't like sales and you don't want to be salesy, right, is the thing people say, well, good, is what your sales coach would tell you. Don't be those things. But if you don't sell, you won't have a business, right? So you have to learn to love sales. You just have to learn to love it in a way that makes sense in your business and for who you are and for how you communicate and what your sales funnel looks like, so that you can serve, right? I have a formula I teach, which is selling equals serving, right? So we got to find a way to redefine it for people so that they embrace it as the happy thing they get to do in their business. And Dubb sure goes a long way to doing that.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. One of the questions that I have for you is, we as a software platform, we see ourselves as an enabler. We are pipes. We are a facilitation of communication, but ultimately the burden is on the burden, and the opportunity, frankly, is on the individual or the leader or the entire team to use the technology to communicate, to build those relationships, to provide value. How can we do a better job to empower people, to inspire people, to see the technology as easy to use, and get them to a place where they can reuse it every single day, where it becomes part of their daily flow.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you can do this better, because I think you do a pretty great job. But the key to it is take massive, imperfect action. Like, that's the key. It's just get in there and use it. Like, nobody gets used to being on video and seeing themselves talk like I'm watching myself talk right now until they just do it. Nobody loves to watch themselves on video until they just do it, right? And so it's all about take massive, imperfect action. And I've been using Dubb platform for, I don't know, 7 months or so. And I've done about 750 videos. And, that doesn't happen by not just doing it and turning it on and not worrying about every detail and not worrying if it's perfect, right? There's never been a more forgiving kind of atmosphere about seeing people on video. People are on Zoom and video meetings all the time now, and they're like, oh, my kids are here, or oh, right, whatever it is. It's so forgiving. So just do it, right? That's the thing. That's the key.
Now, you've accomplished so much in your career. You are a speaker, you are a coach, you are an author. You have your business. You have your clientele. My question for you, with all of this great experience, is how can you empower? How can you teach team leads to get their team members to feel more comfortable using video? They might come from a different generation. They might have a different skill set. When it comes to using technology. How do we get people to feel more comfortable? Is it just practice? Are there kind of better methods to really empathetically onboard people? What's your take on that?
Well, I think, it is a lot of practice, but there are a lot of things you can do. If I were a team lead in a corporation with a team that I thought I needed to get up to speed with this video comfort, there are all kinds of great icebreaker games and training games and things to make it fun, right? Why does this need to be this awful thing we dread and feel stress about? So yeah, I think there's some great ways to get people together and feeling good about meeting. And let's not make video meetings boring. First of all, there's so many great ways. I have a good friend who's a graphic illustrator for meetings, and when we had to go from in-person meetings to online meetings, she made her whole business new to that. And so there are just so many great ways to make things not be boring, not be scary. We're all doing it, so let's do it together, right? Let's have a team attitude and intention around it together. I think is a great idea for teams. Most of the people I work with are solopreneurs, and they're so glad to have somebody else to talk to about it, right? But I've certainly worked within lots of teams and led several teams in the corporate environment as well. And I think people are hungry for connection. People who've been working at home for a year are hungry for connection, and they're hungry for meetings not to all look the same, and for emails not to all look the same too, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. There's this other idea where some people feel like they excel when they get that one-to-one meeting. It can be a Zoom meeting, it can be in person, and they feel like that's their sweet spot. And that's a luxury, because to get someone to commit to meeting us as salespeople, it's significant. How do we get people more comfortable sending asynchronous videos?
Well, I'll tell you, this is not just a Dubb commercial, y'all, but this is true. that since I started using Dubb, my one-on-one meetings have gone exponentially through the roof, like 3 times more every week. So engaging with people in a way that is an authentic communication that allows them to really feel like you're talking to them is so powerful. And I've changed how I manage networking as well. I do a lot of networking at events and in groups and online mostly now, of course, but video communication has changed everything for me in terms of how I'm losing the word, the results, just the results I get of booking one-to-ones. When you can say to somebody, and this is really key. A good friend of mine told me this a long time ago. People will check their calendar to hear about you or talk to you, but they will really go and book a time on their calendar to talk about themselves, right? So when you can authentically say to somebody, I want to learn about you. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing and maybe, how I can help you. Maybe I know someone you need to know. If you're having a conversation with someone like that, they can tell if you're genuine or if you're being salesy, right? So especially when it comes to video. If you write that in an email, it's going to come off as like, yeah, right. But if they see you say it, it's so powerful. So those one-to-one meetings are a whole lot easier in my world since Dubb came along. Oh, you're muted, Reuben.
Yeah, it's so interesting because sometimes I say that send a 1-minute Dubb video, which will save you a 1-hour Zoom meeting. And it's a good thing, when it comes to an internal type of communication and when it's trying to get a thought across, but at the same time, when someone is in sales trying to create those relationships from scratch, they only have a minute, maybe
Right.
They only have 30 seconds.
Right. I was going to say a minute would be a long time. Right.
Right. Yeah. So you got to get, maybe it's even 3 seconds or 10 seconds.
Yes.
So, how do we build trust in a micro time environment?
Well, I really think, that we build trust by showing up, right? By being authentically us when we show up, by not showing up in some salesy format. And so, let's just talk about how we show up. Do we show up with an intention of service, a heart of service? Do we show up with an intention to actually do some good for the other person? Like, how can I serve them? Question is a great question. I have that question in my mind. When I'm networking, I'm asking myself constantly, who do I know this person needs to know? Who does this person need to meet? And do I know those people? And who could I introduce them to that might bring value for them? So, asking questions of yourself primarily. My sales coaching clients can finish this sentence for you. The quality of our business is directly related to the quality of the questions we learn to ask ourselves and what we do with the answers that we get. And so, just having that heart of service and showing up in that way is going to come through. Back in the day, when we used to do sales calls on a telephone, they always used to say, smile while you're talking. They can't see your smile, but they can hear it, right? And people can feel the energy of what you're bringing to a conversation, whether it's a 30-second video or whether you're actually talking to them over Zoom. They can feel your intention and your energy. And so, having a good one's important, I think.
Now, I think that one of the struggles for folks in sales is that they have a quota. Okay.
Yeah.
They have to hit a certain number at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter. And if they don't hit that number, then something bad might happen. Right.
Right.
And, having this balance of how do I have positive energy? How do I have an attitude of servitude, being, value focused, empathetic, compassionate, while still needing to take care of my bottom line, to pay my expenses, to fill that quota, and so on and so forth. How might we find that balance to really live within both realms?
Absolutely. That is such an important question. I just love that question so much. So, I would tell you that having that intention and having that heart of service will have more opportunities show up for you. But I also understand your question. It's like you can't just volunteer all the time, right? You have to also pay attention to your results. If you're a good if you're good at sales and you're good at connecting people and you're good at showing up and asking what they need, right? Then you're not only asking yourself those good questions, you're asking them good questions. Now, there's some great questions you can ask maybe at the end of that conversation to bring it back around to how that person might lead you to who you need to meet, right? I always say in networking, people get frustrated sometimes in networking when they think they aren't meeting the people that are their avatar clients. And I always say, remember, it isn't who they are, it's who they know, right? So asking questions about, asking them who they need to meet, and then being generous really makes people want to be generous with you as well. And then having questions up your sleeve to ask, to say, maybe they've told you who they need to meet. Maybe you've suggested that you'd be happy to introduce them to somebody, and then being able to say, I'd love to know if maybe some of the people I need to meet, and having the right words to say when you're describing who that is. And you're not asking if it's them, right? Allows them to self-nominate, as we say in sales. I can't tell you the number of times that's happened for me. And then somebody says, oh, well, that's me. That's what you want. You want them to figure out it's them, not you tell them it's them, right? So that's a great technique for making sure you're taking care of your own business, right? You're not going to be in business if you're not taking care of your own business too, while you're selling and serving.
So true. So where can we learn more about you? LinkedIn, social channels, your I know you have a Dubb video here, which I'd love to share in this post. Love to get those details.
Absolutely. So, the Dubb video is a great place to connect with me. It, of course, has a link to schedule a Get Acquainted call. I love to meet new business people. It has links to other things I'm a part of. I am a founder of Uprising Unstoppable Powerful Women, which is a women's organization that hosts 9 free women's networking and empowerment events every month. So that's a lot of fun. And that's on that Dubb video. So that's what it's about. And so I'd love to connect with any of our listeners and hear what they're doing with Dubb and how it's working in their business and that sort of thing.
Well, I just joined your Facebook group. I will be answering this questionnaire. And I wanted to thank you for your time. I encourage folks to go and connect with you on LinkedIn. I also shared the Dubb link as a comment in this video, and stay tuned for this to appear in the Dubb Academy and also the Dubb Action Online Summit. Lynn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Loved it, Ruben. Thanks.
Thanks around.